Good morning. Welcome to Coffee with a Superstar. I am Tina Mitchell, your local mortgage expert, as well as your host of Coffee with a Superstar. My show is with real estate agents for real estate agents. Each week I go to the best of the best in the industry so that you can see what they do and how they do it. Each week we travel to our Superstars office, so you personally are invited behind the scenes. So whether you're an industry leader yourself, you're a real estate agent looking to take your business to the next level, or you're an agent that's brand new getting into the real estate space and you want to know what to do, you're going to definitely learn something from my superstar here this morning. I've created this space to showcase their success and to share their success with you. Why? So they can be an inspiration to you to take your business to your next level. And I am so excited I just got goosebumps, and you're gonna know why here in just a second. I'm so excited for my superstar this morning, Leslie Hancock, and she's here with the Windermere office. And if you recognize this space from last week, Jason Cook was my superstar, so you guys are doing a lot of great things in this office.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So Leslie, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you.
And I want to share a little bit about Leslie. Not only is she an industry leader, her 29 years into her career, working on 29 years this year. So in 28 years, she has helped over 1,000 people get into homes and sell homes, which is on an average, I do math for a living, I think it's around 35 units a year. So definitely she is a superstar based on her volume. More importantly to that, not only does she have an amazing family with her kids and her amazing husband, her son, Denny is actually now part of her team, which is really exciting. But I met Leslie years ago at her old Windermere office. And Victoria behind me, camera, will remember the story here, because after I left Leslie, I just asked her what was important to her in her business. And I spent maybe an hour chatting with her that had nothing to do with mortgage or real estate. And I ended up leaving the office in tears of excitement. And I went back to my assistant, Victoria, and I said I was just so touched by what Leslie was doing. And it's because she's doing what all of us aspire to do. I'm still inspiring to do at the level that Leslie has, giving back at the biggest way that you can to your community. Leslie and her husband, Denny, own Mama's Hands, which feeds the homeless, the homeless in the community. And then House of Hope, which shelters homeless women that have gone through some pretty traumatic things. And I want to share how one person, whether it's you sharing something, you never know the difference that you can make in someone's life. Or if you're really interested to find out what's important to somebody else, the inspiration and the change that they will make in your life, because that's what Leslie has done for me. Because of this one day years ago and that first conversation, Leslie invited me to come spend time with her women at the House of Hope. They inspired me to write my book, which is Journey with Me. It's based on my own story of tragedy to triumph, where I share my personal core practices and my professional core practices. The next time I went to visit those women, they inspired me to write my song Dream, because I wanted to be able to leave them with something. And now I'm a keynote speaker myself, sharing my story of tragedy to triumph, inspiring other people. So Leslie, I just want to thank you so much for the inspiration that you are to me, and I'm sure the ripple effect that you have on so many people in this world. I just really, really love you so much.
Oh.
So on that, let's just get back to business with Coffee with a Superstar. Your success, Leslie, what do you contribute your success to?
You know, it's obviously a lot of things, but I think bottom line, it's about relationships, right? This business is definitely about relationships and staying connected with the people that we know and the new, friends we make in the business. It doesn't matter how long you've been in the business, keeping connected is very, very important. I have really loyal clients, some who I've sold multiple properties to. Last year I sold one family their 5th home, and I'm grateful they stayed in the area and continue to reach out to me so that I could help them. But actually some of my clients are starting to retire, and many are leaving the area. And so, that's not a good thing, because I obviously want to keep, a really full database of friends and past clients. And so what's wonderful is many of them are having me work with their kids. So now it's onto like a second generation of buyers and sellers, which is really, really fun. One of the ways that I stay in touch with my clients is with an annual client party. And we have done so many fun things over the years. Everything from a night at the Mariners, which we just did last year, to a mocktail party, to a Christmas party in our home, and oh gosh, a night at the movies. But it's a great way, just because when you have 400 or 500 people that you're trying to stay in touch with, it's difficult to see them all face to face, and so this way they come to you. And some of these, clients I haven't seen for 5-10 years, and it's just so fun to reconnect. That's my favorite thing about this business, is the friendships I've formed, and so I value that, and I continue to, stay really connected.
Yeah, and it's the most important thing is to build that connection and then follow through and stay with that connection, because like you said, they're going to be your clients for life, and how beautiful it is to start on that new generation.
Yeah.
I also think with Leslie, because she opens up to her true self and her authentic self, which we've all heard before from many people before us, is how you connect with people is you let them know who you are and get to know who they are, and then those right people will be attracted to you and to what you have to offer them. And so, opening up everything that you do, people just have to fall in love with you, Leslie. And why would they not support you? But if you don't stay top of mind,
right,
then they do forget about you. And so having those annual events, and I like to say too, when you do these annual activities, I do a lot with my realtor partners, because those are my clients as well. They're introducing me to their new clients. But I like having group activities, because when you do that, it's kind of like when you're invited to a party. You feel so good that you got invited to that party. And then you are there not just by yourself with you, but you're getting them connected with all your other friends and clients that you've built over these years. So they build relationships, they get inspired and motivated by the conversations they have in that event. And so it really is a great way to stay connected. I love that. So Leslie, what about a challenge that you've had to recently or over in the last 12 months, that you've had to deal with, and how did you deal with that challenge and overcome that challenge?
Okay. I have to say I actually have had a couple of challenges this past year. And of course, challenges are great because you learn so much from them.
So true.
So, the first one I would say was that we had a very significant market shift this year. And, the spring started out really hot, like it had been for the prior 4 years. And we were totally on a roll, and I'm a strong listing agent, so our properties were selling quickly and at top dollar, and everybody was happy. And then by the third week of May, it was like somebody just came and turned the lights off. The market just died. And I had just put a couple of high-end homes on the market the first week of May. And, these sellers were gung-ho and excited, and I was excited too, but I actually was sensing that something was going on. But I had no idea we were in for the change that we were. It was literally overnight, and there were many factors that contributed to that. Certainly, there'd been an influx of just a massive amount of new construction, which was competing, which meant those that had resales were really having to get very competitive in their pricing. And then, honestly, I think buyers just kind of were fed up. It's like, that's it.
No more. We're done.
I'm not taking this abuse
We're gonna take a
anymore.
stance.
Yeah, and I think they just kind of like backed out of the market and said, I'm done for a while. Let's see what pans out.
Like they all had a cup of coffee together and chatted about the strategy.
I know. And I mean, there had been a lot of economists that were talking about, a change that was supposed to happen, right? And that's still a little bit on the horizon too. But anyways, so it was really tough to have those conversations with our sellers about, I'm so sorry, but the market is just not the same as it was 2 months ago.
And the hard part, there was no data at that time.
Exactly.
Makes it even more challenging.
Exactly. That is so true. I mean, you can go 3 months into a new market and then look back and say, oh, yes, this is what happened. But when you're at the beginning of that shift, that's the toughest. And so I would say that was, one of the biggest challenges last year. The other...
How did you overcome that?
You have to be very much entrenched in the market, where you're communicating with other agents that sell a lot of properties, and you need to kind of be sharing your stories. So you can say to this seller, gosh, you know that listing just down the street, they're experiencing the same thing we are. They're not getting anybody coming through their open houses. Their showings have dropped off dramatically. They had a lowball offer or whatever, and you're having to kind of go out there and get the data that you would have on paper or on the internet in 2 months. You have to go out
doing
and
more
find it.
work, as well as really coming up with a strategic plan and how you're going to communicate this message at the very highest level you possibly can.
Exactly. And sometimes that's telling a seller, hey, it might be better to just go off the market for a while. Let's ride this out, see what happens. And as it turned out, the fall market turned out to be a better market than the summer market. And so for those who chose to take a little break for a while and let things kind of readjust, that was a wise thing to do.
And then you were going to mention another challenge.
Yes. So the other is actually a good challenge, and that was bringing on my new team member, my son, who turns 40 in a month.
The younger version of your husband, splitting image.
Yeah, it kind of shares a little bit about my age here. But anyways, he is a fantastic young man. Has tons of experience in finance and actually in real estate as well. And I was thrilled to have him join, our team. But anytime you bring someone you've got kind of like this fine-tuned machine, right? And then you bring someone else into the mix, and it just kind of it feels a little discombobulated at first. But he had some super strong strengths that I wanted to utilize and incorporate, and I knew I could back out of some things, but it was really critical to me that our clients not feel any kind of a hiccup, that they maintain, that we maintain that super high level of service that we love to provide our clients. And so what I found is there was quite a bit of overlap. Which isn't very efficient, right? And so we are getting better. We're tweaking our processes.
One-timing your processes.
Exactly.
There'll be a link, by the way, of my coaching program, One Time Your Business.
But that was a challenge, but change is good and growth is good. We're taking our business to the next level, and I'm excited about that. It was just something that I had to kind of work through.
Well, and I always say one of the mind shifts in One Timing Your Business, which is my philosophy, it's about time management and business efficiency at the highest level possible, is the second mind shift is taking the hard road. The hard road represents change. And the easy road is not going to lead you to the success that you're looking for. It's kind of like a crash diet. It's not sustainable. So you've got to really take a step back. What I love when building, I first got into the industry in May of 1995, and a year into the industry, I hired my first assistant and never looked back. So I am a big believer in team building. But the great thing, and what I heard you say here, which is so true, as a leader, we're not in that position every day, because that's why we have that person. We come back into that position when we're transitioning to bring somebody new into the position. It really gives you, it's the hard road, because it takes a lot of time out of you, and you've got to take a step back back and train somebody and all of that. But just as Leslie said, it's an opportunity for you to re-look and revamp to make it more efficient. So I love how there's always a benefit to every challenge when you embrace it.
Absolutely.
So Leslie, what about your favorite marketing tip that you can share with our agents that are listening today?
Well, you know, I will share a kind of a new one, but I want to just revisit something that a lot of agents do today, but I just think is so important. I've been advocating professional staging and photography for almost 2 decades, and I have to honestly say I was one of the first agents to do professional staging. And you know, some people were doing it at the very high level, but when I learned about staging, and I actually was trained as a stager, I realized the benefit it would be for all sellers. It didn't matter if you had a $200,000 condominium or a $2 million home. In my mind, you staged every property that you listed. So that continues to be really, really important to me. I have the best stagers in the industry. But something that we've noticed more recently is how buyers today are buying more of a lifestyle in the properties they're selecting, and that's why we're seeing, you know, a lot of the young people, of course, are moving into the more urban areas. They love the walkability and so forth. But you know, families who are living in the suburbs are also buying a lifestyle. The location of properties is very important, and the neighborhood is very important. So we are really focusing on selling the community that our listings are in. They want great access to freeways, of course. That's always been important, but now it's access to public transportation. They want access to parks. You know, they want to have time with their children, and they want, you know, quick access to shopping. I mean, traffic's not great here, right?
Yes.
It doesn't matter where you are. It's getting worse, exactly. And so they don't want to fight traffic to kind of live their life. So because, of course, we do aerial photography with all of our listings, we now are pinpointing those, you know, spots of interest, whether it's, you know, we'll show on the photo the subject property, but then we may target the 3 schools that are, let's say, all within walking distance, or the 3 parks that are all within half a mile, or the fact that, you know, the on-ramp to the 520 freeway is half a mile away. But we want people to recognize where they're buying and why it's a good location and why it's a good neighborhood. So
But it's
really
so great and focusing on lifestyle. And I want to make sure that you heard also when she talked about staging, she hires the best of the best. You are a real estate agent, which means that there's not enough time in the day to do everything. So I believe in embracing your strengths and hiring out your weaknesses so you can really focus on your own high-level activities. So hire a stager. First impression can be a lasting impression, and where that happens now because of video is it happens when they're on their phone, and then you've lost that chance. I love showcasing the lifestyle. And now with video, we've talked about this before right here in this space, how powerful video is. And Leslie's talking about getting connected when we started out our time here together with her. And what a better way to get connected and to have some fun. Do a Facebook live video and go out there and show the best restaurants. And you can clip it all together and get a few minutes to where it's a one and done. Now you've got this video that you can share with anybody that might have a potential interest in that property, and wherever you can market and list that video. And so it's a great way to be able to get that emotional connection live where they can see that. So great marketing advice, Leslie. So last question I would like to ask you today. I know that there's agents out here, again, whether they're seasoned agents, industry leader agents, new agents in the business, always just knowing right now that one thing, if you were an agent looking at taking their business to the next step, what advice would you give them?
Well, it goes a little bit back to the very first thing we talked about, which is connections. And for me, this is something that I actually struggle with because there's a lot to do here at the office. And so my tendency is to, I'm usually at the office between 7:30 and 8 every morning and work a long day. But really, if I could give you good advice, it's get out of the office, actually connect with those, that you know and want to know. It's, as you said, it's about, I can't remember the term you used, Tina, but, people need to be reminded of you constantly.
Yeah.
And so
top of mind.
Yeah, top of mind. There we go. Building those relationships is just super, super important. We still have to focus on, kind of really knowing our stuff. And that means being super engaged in the marketplace, doing the research we need to know, understanding trends and cycles, seeing the new construction that's out there. There's just tons of new construction, and we need to see it and know it because our buyers are buying it, and as sellers we're competing with it. Our listings are competing with it, so it's really important to just really know your stuff. And then of course I'm a big believer in having a fantastic team and delivering a very high level of service. So I think staying in front of our friends and clients and knowing our stuff, and then delivering that high level of service.
It's so true. That is critically important to be able to stay front and center in those clients. And my referral partners that I work really closely with, I was like, how do you do everything that you do? I mean, now we're doing a Facebook Live every Monday. I'm in studio for my radio show on Thursdays. I do a coaching program for my real estate agents. I do Power Hour Lunch and Learns. I have lots of fun with my agents. I travel, all kinds of cool stuff. But the reason why is because I embrace my strengths, which is connecting and building those relationships. My team behind the scenes, Victoria, is here today. She hangs out with me with these high-level things that we do here, but we have our loan coordinator and our processor, and we have the team back there. They take care of all the in-the-business activities. They are not high-level. Very important, and it takes the best of the best in that position to do that. But that's not what I have to do. I need to build relationships, but have confidence that the team is going to be able to take care of everything. And I always like to say, I know everything that's going on in my business, but I don't know any of the details. All I know is everything's running fine, efficient, and on time. And if it's not, I know that it is, and I know where I need to step in to figure out what I can do to help. And so, great advice. And if you're a new agent, you may be going, well, that's great to say. I mean, you guys have been in the industry for 29 years. I've been doing it for 26 years or whatever. It's easy for you to say because you've got the resources to hire. But I will tell you, I hired my first assistant within a year in the industry, and I would have done it sooner if I knew how devastating it was to me not to have one. So you don't have the money not to invest first in having a great team to support you. So great advice. We have about 7 minutes left, and I want to have you share with our listeners today about Mama's Hand and the House of Hope. Share about the fundraising event that you have coming up on my birthday, April 26th. And I'll be there, by the way. So share a little bit, Leslie, as we wrap up our time together, please.
Okay. Well, in 1990, my husband had a very significant experience with a couple of homeless people. He came home that day and wrote a beautiful song and looked me in the eye and said, honey, I don't think I can continue to do what I'm doing. I feel the urge to do something for the homeless. And I was like, oh, that's scary.
And by the way, they didn't have any resources back then with 5 little babies. So this was
5 kids, 3 to 13, and I was a stay-at-home mom at the time. So that was a little frightening, but I could see that it was really important to him. And my mom was actually a real estate agent, and I said I knew I'd have to get some work. And so I actually went to work for her. and actually loved it. I thought, ooh, this is fun. And so I kind of jumped in with both
that put you on your journey of this awesome career.
Exactly. And so so that's where my career started, but Mama's Hands began to evolve. And so we had been in the floor covering business. We took our big carpet trucks and converted them to mobile kitchens and headed to the streets, to save the world, right? And it was at a time when there were a lot of vets on the streets. And we would have people lined up, 100 plus people lined up for food. We took homemade soup and bread, and we started networking with different food suppliers to get our food donations and so forth. That evolved into what was called the Phone Home program.
Yes.
So this was before cell phones, and we were able to connect really closely on a one-to-one basis with so many of the people on the streets, and found that they really needed to connect with their family.
This was over the holidays when that first opportunity presented itself, right?
And the kids, the young people that would go with us, they were just loved it. They would hand the phone, and somebody would dial their mother, and pretty soon they'd be crying, and they'd be talking about, I'd love to come home, and we started then sending people actually home, off the streets, and home to family that could help them kind of get on their feet again. And about 4 years into this, we were noticing there weren't a lot of women and children on the street. We went to go visit some of the shelters. We were really it was pretty depressing, honestly. And we heard about a program in Chicago run by two Catholic nuns that just had international recognition for kind of a tough love program, and it was called the St. Martin de Porres House of Hope. And we went to go visit them, and we were so impressed. We decided to open our first home for women and children in crisis. That was in '94. We opened a second one, and then a third one. And so today we actually combined the resources into 2 homes on 10 acres out in North Bend.
It's beautiful. The homes are Mount Si is just, they're looking at Mount Si literally in their backyard.
Right.
These are street of dream homes. They're unbelievable.
They really are. They are beautiful homes. It's a beautiful property. It's a wonderful place to heal. The women that come to
Obviously,
us.
I healed. Look at everything that came from. I thought I was going to help the women, but I got so much more out of it. It was
so glad. Anyways, we have been able to affect the lives for a lot of women and their children, and in a good way. And we're very, very grateful. Today we have on-site case management and counseling, and we resource with all of the wonderful, community kinds of resources, and the women make huge progress while they're there, and we allow them to stay for extended periods of time, so they can get through schooling and get into jobs and so forth. So it's been a wonderful journey.
And what a huge responsibility that you take on with something like that. Feeding the homeless on the street doesn't have as much commitment attached to it as the next level that you took when you're taking on these homes and all of the expenses and not knowing where the resources are going to come from, and just going in with your faith that everything is going to work out for itself, and years later it has. So call to action, go to mamashand.org.
Yes.
Can they get information about the the event as well?
Yes, exactly. So every year we have our big fundraiser. This year it's April 26th at the Newcastle Golf and Country Club, and you can buy tickets at www.mamashands.org, and Mamas is spelled with 3 M's.
Yeah, wonderful. And if you ever want to go out and hang out on the street, reach out to them. They go out every Wednesday night from 6 to 8 o'clock. And if you have any services that can be of assistance to women and their children that live in these homes, any educational programs that you offer, if you want to babysit for the kids, you guys still need babysitters, right? To hang out with the kids when the moms are doing things to better their personal and their professional lives. So you can reach out as well. It's an amazing organization. Leslie, thank you again so much for being my superstar. And I really appreciate it. I'm so excited to see the event on April 26th. And no caffeine for Leslie, but we'll cheer to our hot tea this morning. Thank you so much.
Oh, it was
and
wonderful.
Thank you to all of you for being here for Coffee with a Superstar. Really appreciate you taking time to listen to our superstars' advice and taking your business to the next level. Oh, that's our timer. It's been 30 minutes. We will be here same time, different location as, again, we travel to our Superstars office. And thank you for being here. And everybody have an inspiring day. Bye.